Hey! Like a full-time job.
Yeah. Good thing neither of us are working.
Yeah. And then tell me what you have. So, it's so funny.
I just love that when you look up, huh? Oh, that's great. How's it, everybody? And welcome once again to the Daily Pidgin. My name's Andy Bumatai.
And I'm James Money.
And we got a pretty good show for you today. In this first segment, we're going to talk about new no left turn on red signs in Kapi'olani. And as a former bus driver, I see you already shaking your head.
Already. Even just a regular driver, no right turn. That's what Hawaii is known for.
Oh, yeah.
You can turn right on red.
Right, and then in the second segment, we're going to introduce Dani Girl, who is going to talk about social media and its effect on your mental health, especially with young people, right? And she's a social media coach and part of 808 Viral that has, I understand,
Over 200,000 followers on Instagram.
Brian, Cleo.
imagine that, right? So what we'll do now is I want to play this video so that we can talk a little bit about it. Okay.
Let's.
First of all, again, this was shot on February 14th, 2023. But here we go.
Drivers are complaining about the state's new signs on Ala Moana Boulevard saying no right turn on red.
But the DOT insists the signs can save lives. Our Mahea Lonnie Richardson joins us now with more. Mahea? Well, Stephen Keahi, drivers say the no right turn on red signs are slowing down the rush hour commute. So we went for a ride with a commercial driver who takes Ala Moana Boulevard every day.
I know.
On this Valentine's Day, drivers on Ala Moana Boulevard from Waikiki to Kaka'ako are seeing red.
3 cars and this thing turns red.
Did you hear that?
Hobron
3
Lane
cars
in
on
Waikiki
red.
is a hot spot.
LA law.
The arrow is ridiculously quick, and it has us blocked up over here almost every morning when people are trying to get to work.
I've been doing this about 30 years.
Johnny Chang is a shuttle van driver.
Everybody upset about this.
He says the rush hour commute has been a nightmare after the state installed no right turn on red signs at 7 intersections along Ala Moana Boulevard last year.
No right turn on red. What you mean? The traffic just built up during the rush hour.
He says drivers sometimes wait half an hour to get out of the Hobron area. Some go right past the sign.
Oh, nightmare.
The State Department of Transportation says it installed the no right turn on red signs along Ala Moana Boulevard and other state corridors for safety after a review of pedestrian and bicycle involved crashes.
The important thing for folks to know is this is data driven.
Before the signs, crashes at Ala Moana intersections were in the double digits. After they were installed, it was none to 1.
We do have complaints about adding to the commute time. But we would just say that extra minute or two in a car, how much is that worth? Is it worth a human life?
Because the accident they create this, that's not fair for the low user and the resident living in those high rise.
But Cheng says he's fed up as the added wait times mean added stress.
The DOT says the Kaka'ako area is getting busier, but that people will eventually get used to the new signs. I'm Mahea Lonnie Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
There are changes coming to Hawaii's license plates.
I guess so. I mean, if it does save lives or it does save people from getting injured, and that's why I get frustrated because when they make sense,
well, you know what? Look, I mean, the statistics show it did in fact make sense, and I don't know if you watched the news today, but two adolescents were going through a crosswalk. They got
Kapi'olani.
Hit and run, Kapi'olani, right there, and one of them passed away, unfortunately. So, guess what? You know, I don't know. And I love how they say, "Oh, you'll get used to it," you know, and never go to New York.
Yeah.
Because if this bugs you, and you know what, another vote for leaving early.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Which I always wondered about this. How does a bus stay on time in traffic? Or do they just not?
They just don't. I mean, the weird part is how do they get the schedule down for the bus drivers?
Yeah.
What they do is that the schedule department goes in a van and drives the route and says, okay, this takes this many minutes, this takes it, but doesn't take into account that the bus stops.
Yeah.
So when I was a bus driver, we almost never made our time because it's ridiculous. There's no way it takes 1 hour to go from Kapilani Park to school or to Middle Street via hotel, School Street. It's ridiculous.
And that's why you have to put up with, bro, what time the 4 o'clock bus show up?
How come you late like that? All those questions, because the schedule you see on the paper, it's ridiculous. And this is gonna frustrate a lot of people because for me, now I'm not driving a city bus anymore. Yeah. I get frustrated when I come down on Ward to make a right onto Alamana Boulevard to go towards the airport. They changed that to no right turn on red. So at night, when it's just you.
Oh, I hate that one. And you look and you could,
Yeah, so that's where it gets frustrating when you don't go through, you're not, in the rush hour traffic, but you're sitting there and you're just waiting for the whole thing to cycle through.
Wow. And then that one guy yelling out, 3 cars on red, That's another one that really bugs me. And this hasn't got anything to do with stop signs or stuff, but that person who is at the crosswalk, the light turns green they don't pull out into the intersection.
Yeah.
So when it turns red, 3 cars can go.
Yeah.
They wait there, and then when it opens up, they go and I know.
I mean, on top of that, the whole crosswalk thing where people don't understand that it's on your half. If the pedestrian starts walking on your half of the street, you cannot go. But if they're on the other half, you can.
Oh, you can go behind them.
Well, when they're already on your half, if they cross, they're already past you, then you can go. But they have to be on the crosswalk. But if they're going the other way, so if they start, you can't go. But if they pass you, then you can go.
I get it. Just, in other words, if they're not in front of you, don't run them over.
Yeah, right? Pretty much. Like, if they're underneath, then move back.
This reminds me, there was a comic, and I wish I can remember his name. He had this funny bit, He says, cops in L.A. and cops in California and cops in New York. He says, it's so different, right? He says, a guy, through a red light, through an intersection and goes, and they go, hey, did you see him? And the cop says, what do you want me to do? He made it. Right? But he says, and then in California, it's pull over, left speaker out.
Chase him down.
Chase him down.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I got to tell you. This, by the way, as a public service announcement, we just like to remind everybody that every car is equipped with a road rage eliminator, and most people don't use it. They're called turn signals.
Oh, is that one of those sticks? That's
on the you push that down, and then before you cut in front of somebody, you let them know, hey, I'm gonna make you late to Tutu's house.
That's the thing that goes tick, tick, tick.
Tick. Well, you can hear it. Mine are always on, and that's the international sign of you're a grandparent.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy, yeah. All right, gang, I tell you what, we're going to take a break. We're going to pay some bills, and I'm sure one of these days we're going to see a commercial for Oahu Golf Attire. But until then, we just have to look at James's 6X shirt. But we'll be right back after this. And we're back. Oh, man, you think we'd get used to this. Okay?
Almost.
If you just joined us, you're watching the Daily Pidgin. My name's Andy Bumatai.
And I'm James Money.
And we have a special guest that I'm really looking forward to talking to. She wants to talk about social media. Now, she teaches social media. She has a successful Instagram account or is part of it, but is here to talk about social media and how it can affect your mental health. How's that? Please help me welcome Dani Girl.
Hi.
How's it, Dani?
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Was that intro, anything you want to change on that? Did I get it?
No, it was deja vu. It was perfect.
No, it was.
It was good.
Great.
It was
Okay. So let's talk first of all about your social media platform, Instagram. Phenomenally successful.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
many Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. We have like a couple 100,000 there, a couple 100,000 face pretty much across the platform, and we also run other pages too. So the combined is about 2 million.
Wow.
Because we have niche, we have food pages, we have all kinds. Yeah.
So when you throw Baby Lou out, plenty people show up.
Right. Be virtual.
Now, how did you get involved in the mental health aspect of social media?
I mean, because it was really how I started. I was overcoming a fentanyl addiction, and it was my creative outlet at one point where I had to like change my life to like save my own life. And so all of the things that I had learned, I went online, and I was a journalism major, so I started creating content. And I had my own like pet page, and my first viral video was like 2007, and I just loved storytelling. And then when I came back home to get clean and get well, and I really just kind of didn't want to go anywhere. I was afraid to relapse. And so I started going social online. I started making content and writing comedy for other people and convincing people to make crazy videos with me, and they trusted me, thankfully. And our first video went viral, which was Mokes Try Vegan Food. That was our first one. And that was very interesting.
It happens fast, doesn't it?
It did. And it was crazy. Like we've had all kinds of crazy little things that we put out that we debate. We had a spam Oreo. I did a spam Oreo meme that actually ended up on Jimmy Kimmel. People thought it was real. And Nabisco had to actually like make a statement that says, no, it's not real. Everybody calm down. And
a spam Oreo.
Yeah, I just made a Photoshop. It was not even a good one. It was like a bad Photoshop of the package, like spam Oreos.
Yeah.
And then it was in people's monologues, and then I was at Snopes, had to like debunk it, and I was like, oh my god, I've made it. I'm on Snopes.
But how important was getting in early? It sounds like you were one of the early, adopters of the social media.
Yeah, definitely, because it was a much smaller community, and so it was easy. People were just watching at that time. So like if you had one viral, like spam Oreos got us 30,000 followers right off the bat. That was just from that meme. And then we did Mokes Try Vegan Food, and that one got another like 40,000. Like it just happened really fast. It's very hard to grow now because everybody is online, and there's a lot of like bakery.
Look at this. I don't know if you can see that, but Pocoli T said, I can't even say Mokes Try Vegan Food without laughing.
I know.
You should watch it because it's hilarious. Like one of them's like, they have the kale crunch, and we gave them kale crunch, and he's like, what's the colic? It's the colic crunch. It's fake weed.
Fake weed.
They tried to roll it up and smoke the kale.
Oh, that's too funny. Now, I want to talk more about that mental health thing, but we'll do that in the next segment because what you're doing. What did you say? You have over like 1 million combined.
2.5 million. 2.5 million.
Wow. 1.5 million. How often do you have to feed that beast?
It's constantly feeding the beast, and that's the problem. It's gotten to be more than I can even control at this point. I hit back in 2018 when I calculated we were almost at 1 billion total combined views.
Wow.
And I haven't even tracked it since then, but like it's a lot. It's a lot.
Do you, and again, I don't want to get into the mental health part because we're going to talk about that, but the effect on you to feed that beast.
Yeah, that's why I'm so good at understanding what's happening to people, because I was an early adopter. So I've already kind of been through the gamut of what happens and started to find ways to like take social media breaks, which, I talk about a lot now. Like that social media has such a positive thing. There's so many good things about it, but I can see very clearly, and I have plenty of friends, and I've seen how devastating it can be for people. So it's very, like, there's so many important that everybody understands it. And I have to really, like, it's my business. Like, I do this, I manage people's pages, I do large scale community management and coaching. And I always tell people so you gotta pace yourself. You gotta set like limits every day, because it will catch up to you. It affects your sleep. The negativity, it can really like damage your ego and like your self-esteem and all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it still fun for you?
Yeah, it is. Saturday we filmed, and I remembered it was actually nice because I realized that I need to start making content that way again with a group of people, because I think we get lost in like the commenting and the constant responding, and I have to respond every day to somebody mad about something. Like somebody's upset about something, or there's some outrage happening. The other day I said, I was talking about micro influencers, like, because you talk about small influencers, they're called micro influencers, and I had people mad saying that I was saying Micronesian influencers, and then I had to explain to everybody, like, no, I wasn't making a racial slur. I was saying, like, that's the term, is micro influencers, and it's like everything is offensive these days. So.
Yeah, welcome to the world of comedy. Why did you say that? I know what you were trying to say. Actually, you know what I mean? Amazing.
Yeah, there's so many crazy, funny like moments where things become offensive that you didn't even think about until somebody said something, and you're like, whoa, what?
It's interesting. A very good friend of ours, Frank DeLima, right? He won't go on social media and doesn't have any platforms, because he says he's afraid that people will be mean to him. And I'm like, well, get a moderator.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Get a filter between you. That happens a lot with celebrities. Like, I manage a celebrity account. We do everything, and we only show him what he needs to see or wants to see. Like Frank, does he know how?
Dani, we're gonna take a short break here, and we'll be back, and then we'll talk a little more about everything and mental health. Okay?
Nice.
Right after this. Hold on, gang. Don't go away. We'll be back.
This is Froggy to my brother out there, Andy, you bugger from the corner pocket breast camp. I forget the phrase,
You're
but
watching a Daily Pidgin.
I'm watching Daily. This is Hawaiian, that's why I had to listen.
You're watching a Daily Pidgin.
Daily Pidgin.
With Andy Bumata.
With Andy Bumata, the brother from Army Beach, Waina, Hawaii.
Take it back.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the Daily Pidgin on Channel 50 KKAI. My name's Andy Boomatai.
And I'm James Money.
And we have a special guest today, Dani Girl, a social media coach, in part of 808 Viral, a phenomenally successful social media site. And she's here to talk about social media and its effect on your mental health. So here we go. Welcome back, Dani.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Hey, so when I first started the Daily Pidgin, right? It was an accidental thing. I accidentally went on, and then I did it the next day, and then next day ended up doing 500 shows in a row at 6 a.m. thinking that's the way to get 200,000 like Dani Girl. Well, number one, never work. But at the end, I literally had to turn to the audience and say, I'm burnt out. I can't do this anymore. And I took a month off and, did things like go to the beach. And, is that normal?
Absolutely. The hardest part is, especially when you expect something you're hugely successful, and then people go online and they don't see the same success. And there's it kind of breaks your heart. You think that you're failing, and then you're putting in this commitment. The people who work the hardest on social media aren't the ones getting popular. It's usually strategy. And what I keep telling people, and I coach people, like, most of the time I'm talking to people, they're saying that I feel like giving up. Like, why am I doing this? I feel like nobody cares. Nobody's seeing me. Almost probably 65% of what you see online is fake. People are inflating their numbers. It's not real. So like you're competing with something that's a huge part of the mental health part, right? Is that you're breaking down because you're thinking, I'm trying really hard, and you're taking it personally because it's your life's work, and your stuff
Danny,
does really well, Andy. When we share your stuff, when we shared clips of your like pigeon origin words and like I remember like it did really well. It was just, we just presented it differently. We would just, because people have no attention span. So if we took like little clips of your show and put it up, we would easily get 50,000 views on that. It's just differently put out,
Well, you know what? You mentioned attention span, Now, I know we're talking about mental health here, and I think attention span and the effect that it has on, especially on young people. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, because what I'm noticing, and I have this happening with somebody in my life right now, is that these devices and everything that we have are literally geared to keep your attention. There's a lot of money in this, and they have these like shorts. We have stories, like if you like that are meant to be digested in small amounts, and you swipe through them really quickly. And if you watch a kid who's doing this, I mean, they're barely getting through anything. They're just like boom, 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 boom. They're just consuming, and it's causing this kind of ADHD concentration problems. Like where teachers are saying that they're having trouble getting the kids to focus and pay attention on anything. And so, I've been telling people to keep their kids to moderate them on these devices. You have to curate what they're seeing, and you got to like keep it to a small amount of time, because their attention spans are just all over the place. And we don't truly, there's studies being done. We don't know 100% the effects on our brains.
Yeah, but how is that possible? I mean, you take a phone away from some of these young people and they want to commit suicide.
It's addiction. It's feeding the same, honestly, it's just another form of addiction. This is, I know this well. I overcame addiction using social media to keep me from going back to addiction. And then I realized I also had now a social media addiction. And the first time we had a blackout and my phone went out and I had no power, my husband will tell you, like, he was ready. If he had tranquilizer, he would have shot me with an elephant dart. I was freaking out. I couldn't handle it being quiet and dark. He's like, let's just read. I'm like, read? What do you mean? There's nothing to read. The world is over. Like I couldn't even pick up a book anymore. I'm like, I couldn't function. My calendar, my whole life was on my phone. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is bad.
I was reading something the other day, and well, not reading something. I was watching a video on how to, be more successful on YouTube. They have all those kind of videos, right? And I'm just, I'm going to watch this guy a little bit. And he says, the important thing is to grab him in that first 8 seconds. Because if you don't get him in that first 8, and I was like, 8 seconds?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I gotta do, I mean, I always, my joke was, imagine, you walk in to see, Gone with the Wind, and you sit down in the theater, it starts up, and in the first 8 seconds, you go, nah, man.
No, leave. It's true. That's true. Like, remember, Vine was 6 seconds. We had to like do a beginning, middle, and end comedy bit in 6 seconds. Yeah. We're like, our brains are just going faster, and it's definitely like, I'm seeing people have mental breakdowns, like suicidal, depression, anxiety, relapsing on drugs. It's like, it's funny because I'm in the business, this is what I do, but I'm also at the same time trying to myself figure out ways to help with it, and to like teach people what they need to do, and to let them know like things are normal, the way you're feeling. Like a lot of the times when I tell them how I've been feeling, they're so relieved to know, like, oh my God,
someone else is going through that. Yeah. Now, do you have any organization or something where somebody who is concerned about this could go, that you're a part of?
I don't. I wish there was somebody. That's a really good point to make. I wish we should have somebody locally. We've talked about this. We have a group called Hawaii Creators, where we're kind of, we have about a little over 100 creators in that group. And we've talked about mental health, and we're trying to come up with something where people can like maybe do like a podcast that specifically talks about the different issues, because there's different issues, right? Everybody has different issues. And especially if you've already are having a mental health, like you already have a mental health issue, like depression or anxiety, like there's things you can do, social media, that can make it better or worse, and there's just not enough information out there. So we are talking about it.
Give us an example of something you can do to make it better.
Take a social media break. Breaks are super, super important. Like I knew when I got COVID, actually interesting. When I got COVID, I got really sick, like really, really sick, but more than anybody else in the house. And I was down for like a month. I thought I was going to die. I ended up in the hospital. It was like really bad. And I was off social media for the longest time that I ever had been. I hadn't even charged my phone. I didn't look at it. And when I finally got better from COVID, so much things changed. My sleeping was better. Everything was better. And anytime that I have had a surgery or I've had forced downtime off of social media and off of my devices, I could tell immediately.
Hey, Dani, C. Honda wants to know if you read the book Glow Kids.
I haven't. I'm going to write it down,
says
though.
Kids too involved in social media. You might want to write that down because C. Honda, she's one of our moderationists, and she also handles our Discord and a lot of the Twitter stuff, right? So she's our
I'll
gal.
look into that because it's definitely something we're not doing anything about here right now. And my coaching is a lot about like helping small businesses not be afraid to get on social. Everyone's afraid too, right? Because we're all in this like time period now where everybody's just trying to find the truth. We all realize we've been lied to about so many things, and then we're on this social media place where everything you can't trust anything. Everything is either a lie. And it makes you crazy.
And let me tell you one of the worst things about like what we're doing television, and that is I need to cut you off and go to a commercial break and come back with Dani.
My attention.
That's right after this.
How's it, everybody? My name is Tilly Krause, and I like grinding strawberries and flowers, but can I eat right now? It's time for the Daily Pidgin Live with Andy Bumatai. See ya.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the names, Andy Bumatai and
James Money.
Right there, spelled correctly, believe it or not.
And it's not Maine.
No, it's not Maine. He's not the main man.
Apparently not, but one day
we switch places. Well, you know what, bro? Hey, at your age, all you got to do is just wait.
That's what I hear. You just wait them out.
Just wait them
Wait them
out.
out. Gonna come. Your time gonna come. I think that's how it worked for Leno. So that maybe.
Okay. So we have again. Let me start the timer. Thank you so much, James. You're the main man.
Now I am.
There now, because without you, we would have done a 20-minute segment.
Yeah.
And we have to count the clicker?
And then you'd have to edit forever.
What else is there?
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a gal. She goes by Dani Girl. And again, if you just tuned in, she's a social media star in that her Instagram following is 200,000. I think she has another 200 on Facebook. Collectively, all her groups over 1 million.
2 million. Over 2 million.
Over 2 million. Yeah. And she's here to help us understand the effect of social media on mental health. Mm-hmm. So once again, let's welcome Dani Girl.
Hello.
Hello.
The one thing, if you don't mind me jumping in on this.
No, go ahead.
One thing I like about Dani Girl is that she highlights a lot of other people. So like the group, the friends that she has that record or create content, she uses her platform to highlight them. Another comedian in our scene, Daryl Bonilla.
Of course. I know Daryl.
He's in a lot of their videos.
Funny.
I'm recently in their videos.
Yes.
So that's the thing that I like is that about Dani is she gives. It's not just, so we mentioned how many followers, and it's not her personal followers. It's
it's the group. It's the Instagram account.
Yeah, so the group, right. And then she highlights other people and she does a lot of sharing of positive Hawaiian cultural stuff. And there's comedy in there where you make fun of certain things, but always try to push, positive Hawaiian culture. So
there you go.
Yeah, we always punch up. It's a rule. Like we don't punch down. It's kind of not hard to do that, but it seems a lot of people have trouble with it. But I mean, honestly, right now, if it like the best engagement you get is by really negative content. So we actually the fact that we're doing well is really great, because it's easy to build followers now if you're posting the worst of the worst, because you get people to engage, right? Because if it bleeds, what if it bleeds it? If it bleeds it, what's the term that they use for me?
Leads. If it bleeds,
if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what's going on. But it's a lot of, like, you know, social media. Like, one of the things I tell people a lot is that we have an influence. All of us do. Whether you have like 500 followers, whatever you say, you put out there, you have an influence on somebody. And so what you give out, you get back. I mean, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that is a thing. And that's why, that's the only reason things work out for me. Because if I put things out good, I get that back. And that leads me to like my story with you. And this is a great example of influence, right? Because as a kid, I saw a bit that you did, and it was this thing like, how did people back in like the caveman days decide what to eat? Like, you had lobsters, you had crabs, but then you had dogs that you could call and they come to you. So why did we choose crabs and lobsters? Who thought of that? And as a kid, like, my light bulb went off. I'm like, oh, why? Like, that's like, that was a deep thought for me. The rest of my life, I obsess about where food. I always think of the story, like, how did this happen? Who did this? Why is this happening?
Let me give people who aren't familiar with the bit just a quick synopsis of it. I said, you know, people are upset when people eat dogs, but to me, crab is a much weirder food, right? And people started eating dogs, and again, this is just me. I said because they were chasing food around during the caveman days, cavewoman days, right? And I said, what's more convenient than food that will come when you call it? Remember oh
yeah. And who thought of that? Like, you have this crab that's like ouchy and bitey and hard, and you know, it takes a lot to like get it to prepare, and it's like, why would you do that? So and then just recently I was thinking about taro, and I was like, oh, here goes my Andy Bumatai rabbit hole. I'm going down the rabbit hole because I was thinking about taro. I'm like, taro leaves are poisonous. So some brada like went maki die dead from eating taro, but then somebody figured out to cook it. So who took the bullet to try the cook version?
Who took the bullet?
Right?
Well, think about the first person who tried. Hey, bro, look at that crab. Might be ono for eat. Okay, here, bro, bite him. Okay.
Was it like the village idiots, or the guys who were like breaking law? Like, they were the ones that had to try all the food. You know,
who took the bullet?
Go try Kavika. Kavika the one.
Oh.
Try Kavika.
Kavika, look at here. Allah says, "Oh, great, Terry. Oh, I like what."
Eating some zippies after.
And then I started thinking about too, like, speaking of zippies, like we have, or even just like like lomi lomi salmon. We don't have no salmon or tomatoes. Where did any of this come from? Right?
Well, don't start. Yeah. You know, the whole food thing. You know, it's the first person to look at a cow and go, "Hey, you know what?" Right. And one of my favorite jokes is that brother, you know, he's arguing with a vegetarian, right? And he goes, "Bruh, if God never like us eat cow, why he make them out of meat?"
And then who thought to eat the face, like the barbacoa, right? Like, somebody's like, oh, face meat. Then let's eat the meat off the face, or the eyeballs, or the tongue. Like, everybody, I don't mean, who thought it? Who did it first? Well, like, now you got me thinking all the time. Like, I can't stop.
Oh,
it's your fault.
I'm sorry about that, Danny.
No, it's great.
You affected her mental health.
Oh. It affected me. But it was a positive thing, because it made me want to learn. Like, I would always research, and I would find out that where the origins of the food came from, but not necessarily like why somebody chose it or who died or whatever. Like, not like that kind of stuff.
Keone Nunes here says, look at this. The Native Americans ate acorn, very poisonous, and it takes a lot of steps to make it edible. Who took the bullet?
Who did? Who died?
Squirrels took the bullet.
Right. Or apple seeds, right? Like, who ate a bunch of apple seeds? Because apple seeds are poison. I just found this out. Apple seeds are poisonous. If you eat too many, they're poisonous.
You know what? And this is only because I grew up, you know, economically challenged. And when we used to grind apple, you know how people like to eat the core and they throw the core away? Not us, but we grind every piece of that apple till only the seeds are left. And I told that to somebody, and someone said, eating just to the core started when they were trying to make more apple trees. So they would eat to the core and then bury the core, so the seeds would use what was left of the apple as fertilizer to kind of grow.
You're still blowing my mind with these food history stuff.
Stories. And
I
well,
love
guess
that
what?
story.
Well, we're going to pay some bills so we can buy some food, and we'll be right back with more of Dani. And now we got to talk about mental health in the next segment, okay? So don't go away. We'll be right back.
How's it? You are watching the Daily Pidgin Live with Andy Bumatai. You know it's live because we're stalling so that Andy can find the right video. Let's hope that there's no spelling involved in this search, okay?
Okay, see, I'm ready.
Okay, ready. Enjoy.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the Daily Pidgin on Channel 50 here in Hawaii. And our special guest is
Dani Girl.
That's right. And she's here to talk about social media and its effect on mental health, right? And Dani, I'd like to start with a question, if you don't mind. Okay. I know you do a lot of social media coaching. Is that correct?
Yeah, people hire me literally just to either like teach them how to do things. It's kind of like a tech support for social media, whether influencers, small businesses, just people that feel overwhelmed by social media and they don't really know where to go or how to start.
Is that individuals or businesses?
So, well, for the YWCA, I was doing actually for the Enterprising Women of Color program, I would do social media coaching for groups like Zoom once a week. And it was small businesses mostly, like entrepreneurial small businesses and groups. And then people hire me individually to work with them on an individual basis as well.
Is there any one thing that people are doing wrong on social media that most are doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. I mean, one of the things that they struggle with the most is they're just afraid. I think everybody is like, they're afraid to get online. Everybody's afraid to post the wrong thing, or they get what I call like freeze, right? Like they have all these ideas, but then they don't know where to start. And then they start looking at what other people are doing, and then they never get their own content out because they're like afraid to push that button. They're afraid to put themselves out there. And the other thing I think a lot of people are doing is just feeling pressured constantly and they're not being their authentic self. Like I keep telling people, like, don't try to do what other people are doing. If you're not like, don't do comedies if you're not comfortable doing comedy. You know, I mean, a lot of times I'll talk to people. I'm like, wait, you play ukulele or you sing? Like, why aren't you doing that? Why are you doing this other thing? You know, and it's the thing that they do well that this rant, like one of the things I did years ago, I talk fast. So I started reading my friends' businesses and labels. And then I went and like broke the world record online, like of fast talking. And I got all kinds of views from that. That's natural to me. It was easy, and it never occurred to me to make content talking fast, but I literally do it every day. So I tell people, like, keep it simple. Whatever you're doing, people right now are in such a like learning. They want to learn. They like, if you go on TikTok, this is a great example. There's a TikTok for everything. There's a mortuary talk where you can learn how people prepare dead bodies. There's a cleaning TikTok where people are cleaning toilets and using like all these colorful things. Like I watched some people clean toilets for an hour and a half the other day. Like I was fascinated. Like
I did that. Oh no.
Right?
Yeah. And then the guy with the ring going, the ring will come back in 5 days unless you do. Oh, really? Oh, and the close-ups of, how weird is that? Hey, let me ask you a question, Dani. Okay. Have you ever had anyone that you're coaching go, I'm afraid to post and stuff? How many times have you turned to that people and go, in the beginning, no one will be watching you.
Only 3 people actually see you. Don't worry. It's just your mother and your brother and your kid. Like they love you. It's okay. It's a safe space.
When I first started comedy, right, I was like sweating and stuff. And I swear this local brother, right, older guy, right, probably my age now, walked on stage. Andy, wait, stop for a second. He put his arm around me. He goes, boy, you see these people in the audience, most likely you're never going to see them again in your life. Just relax. Okay. And then he walked off stage. I went, okay, cool.
That totally helps.
But on the mental health side, try to get we start rapping and I get off the subject. You know what I mean? Do you warn the people that you counsel about that early?
Yeah, first thing I say. One of the first things I say, I said, you got to understand that it's not for the faint of heart, and if you don't feel comfortable doing it, do not force yourself. Especially as a small business, they keep thinking they have to make a video with themselves. If you're not comfortable being on camera, exploit your children. They're freeloaders. Make them work for you. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously though, because the kids know how. But for real, the kids know how to use this stuff. They usually like social media. So I'm like, if you maybe have them unbox your products, they probably even know how to make the video. Ask them for help. Because you're probably giving them allowance, make them work for it. But I said, if you force yourself to do stuff, I've seen people shaking when they're getting ready to film, and I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Don't do it. Find somebody in your business or somebody else. And there's other ways you can put out content that you're not the one to do it, right? So it's definitely I tell people too, if you're already struggling with something, try to stay off of social media until you get that under control. Because really I was really lucky. I used something to come off of something else. But when I was struggling with depression, the worst thing I did was consume social media at such a level it made me worse. It made me sicker.
Hey,
And
is
so
there is there what the young people call stranger danger about putting your kids, let's say, online?
I don't want to scare people, but yes, absolutely. I've seen the dark side of this. I've been on the dark web. I've seen things that I had to couldn't unsee kind of thing. Absolutely need to protect your children online. You would be shocked, and we can't even talk about it.
What I'm saying is a parent, has this, 10-year-old, let's say, and they're on TikTok and they're in their bedroom and, taking, hide and like that. I mean, how do you monitor that as a parent?
That's hard. And there are actually devices and all kinds of settings that you can do to limit and to even watch. We have a watch that my nephew has that we can track what he's doing, where he's going on with his social media. We can limit it. My husband goes into my nephew's YouTube all the time and makes sure he clears everything so that he's not seeing things that he's not supposed to see. We have it set up in a way that, we control that he's only seeing things for children. And you just have to, you can't just sit them in front of it and let them go. Cause they go down these rabbit holes and it really does affect them. Their little brains, they have this thing called TikTok brain. They're still developing. There's a reason why they don't want them to do virtual reality. Their eyes are still developing. You know what I mean? We have, I mean, if it's affecting us as adults right now, adults, you can see it. I've watched people over the last few years. I don't even know them anymore. They've changed so much because of things that happened on social media that it's can you imagine the children, how impressionable they are, right? So
you know what? Where can people go? Because here's Gina Gamba saying, I have anxiety and social anxiety. It's hard to find help here. Where can people go for help like Gina?
Yeah. So, I mean, I personally, I have a counselor I talk to online all the time, just somebody to talk to. But I always really like Facebook groups a lot, because Facebook groups, you can find a really great group of people that you, especially when you have anxiety, because it's hard to go anywhere and do anything. You never know from day to day, you don't even want to go to the store sometimes, or you might have a fear of people. I don't like crowds, I don't like to, James will tell you, I don't like events.
I hate to say it, Gina, but there's a comedy bit in that. How's it? And welcome to everybody who be part of the crowd. I know nobody will show up, but we're gonna do our best for continue with this meeting, and we're gonna continue what we're talking about in the next segment, and that'll be the wrap-up one here for the television show. So don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Daily Pidgin after this.
Hi there. How's it? Poppy Cheney here. When I'm done with flying and I have both feet on the ground, I watch the Daily Pidgin Live. Aloha.
And we're back with Dani Girl. And thank you so much, James, for introducing us and bringing her to the program. Man.
Oh, she's an amazing person. I love her very much. And she's helped me out with a lot of things. So.
And also other people, I understand.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm starting the timer. Click. There we go. Ooh, we got them. Garen Barbarians. And speaking of Garen Barbarians, thank you so much, Dani, for being on the Daily Pidgin.
Thank you. And speaking of Garen Barbarians, I had a friend from the mainland ask me to explain what that meant, and I did not know what to say.
I can explain to you very, very.
Can you?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
When we play agates, or what they call marbles, right? There's this one technique where all the marbles are here, and you take your bambucha, your biggest marble.
Yeah, bambucha.
Right?
I still have mine.
And you fire it into the middle of the pack, and you try to break their marbles or knock them out. But what some people did is to guarantee that they bust the pile, they get a ball bearing. And they take, so now they call them the Garen ball bearing. Boom!
Oh my gosh. That is just like light bulb just went off. Thank you.
And as a kid, that's where I learned spam. I didn't know when you play marbles, you go spam. I thought it was spam, but it's span, right?
Yeah, it's the span of your hand, but we say spam.
Yeah, so that sounds like spam. What is spam? And they go, spam, you do this to your marble.
Get all kinds like that, you know.
What is hamajang? Where did hamajang come from?
Well, hamajang, I don't know that it's a pidgin word that means basically hamajang jang, right? What meant drunk, meant all KK and kind of hamajang. So when you was hamajang jang, you couldn't handle, and then hamajang became synonymous to disoriented or mixed up or whatever. That's all I know. I think Keone Nunes would have a better answer to that.
Hamajang jang. That makes a lot of sense.
My mainland friend, she's like. My mainland friend, she's like, pidgin is so violent. It's like choke and grind and bang and shoots and pound.
No, it's not.
Like, what's it so violent?
You know where choke came from? Where they, or get choke people or get choke cars. Okay, fishermen, when they went fishing, right, they would fish a hole, and when the whole fish tried to escape and go through a small passage, there were so many of them, they would choke the hole. So they would say, I goes, how's the fish? Oh, bro, I get choked fish. Because get so many, they all don't fit through the
That's
passage.
Awesome. My mind is blowing. It's like my whole life, I never knew.
I'm sponging all of this knowledge.
I know, right? It was just like we were talking. We were talking about akole the other day. We're like, akole actually doesn't mean what we think it meant. It's alemo is your butt, but akole, is the puka, akole puka, right? Like, so a wet akole brand brings on a whole different thing now. When you know that, you're like, now I know why they created those seats.
Somebody, either that or somebody got a white.
Somebody was in traffic on the H1 and they needed the wet akole seat,
I know. I never liked the name of that brand, and they were successful. But I went wet akole. I mean, it's just,
wait, what does that mean?
Well, okay. Here's another one on the okole line. You've heard people say hana okolele, right?
Yeah. When Mama made a babe.
Yeah, but. Okay, hana means make in Hawaii, right? And what they're saying when they say hana okole, they're saying make okole. In other words, make a. You made, like when people say, hey, you make a, and I'm saying a instead of ass, right? But hana okole meant literally make a. So
and you can tell where somebody's from by how they sing that song too. Like if they're from Maui, it's different than how they sing it here.
You
ever notice that?
I never thought about that.
It's all
different.
different.
Do you know the Maui version?
Oh, we just did it. We did a video on this not too long ago. There was
the dialects.
There was the one with who's could
I
tell
don't know
you
any second verses.
There's like 3 different versions of this. I'll find the video and send it to you because we realized it one day when we posted our version, and then Maui and Kauai were like, wait, we have a version.
Yeah. Okay, so to finish up on social media, comedy is what a lot of people use to take the stress out of their lives, and you're doing comedy on social media. How's that for a segue?
Yes, and that is exactly what we're trying to do because we understand like there's so much negativity. This was like my mission from the beginning was always that like we wanted to put out things that were going to like shine a flashlight in the dark kind of thing, because there's a lot, especially now, dark social media is very, very dark. It's very, very negative. And like, I feel like honestly we're kind of a minority in that sense right now. Like there's very few people that are just putting out positive content because it doesn't do as well as the really bad stuff. And like we were talking about like this earlier, that comedians, a lot of the comedians I know are a lot of them suffer from depression, and they've had all kinds of issues, and their comedy is their kind of form of therapy, and even a stress reaction to anxiety. Because when I go into a room and I'm stressed, I'm like joking, and no one would ever know. Like inside, I'm like, oh, But it's because, like you said, like Robin Williams said, he had this kind of plexiglass between him and this. But when you saw him in person, he was very different. Because he turned on when he was in front of people, probably because he was having, some kind of insecurity
And the saddest part is the worse things are, the more people turn to comedy. We're kind of like this reverse economic indicator to how well things are going,
It's true.
So we
Entertainment
got about 30
is crucial.
seconds left here. So anything you want to say before we go back to the regular internet, but on television here, how can people get in touch with you?
Basically 808 Viral on all the platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. My Instagram is Daniela Rock, so it's Daniela ROX. I post a lot of like cat videos. So like if you don't like cats, then probably
Danny?
we go to 808 Viral.
Thank you so much for being here, and we hope to have you back again.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, gang.
Thanks, guys.
Aloha.